Punic Wars, directed, created, and written by Josh Gasick. Most of the voice stuff by the great Zach Parker.
Arguably, the root cause of the Punic Wars was the formation of a very well-remembered state, Rome, who showed an incredible talent for starting wars. Traditionally, the formation of Rome goes back to 509 BCE, when the Roman people famously threw off the oppressive Etruscan monarchy and proceeded to conquer the surrounding independent cities with an ironic fervor. Though Rome itself was sacked by a Gallic chieftain around 3 to 7 BCE, the Roman people rebuilt their city, this time with a wall for, protection purposes, and then quickly fought in a succession of 5 more wars with the Etruscans, their Latin neighbors, and Epirus. By 275 BCE, Rome had solidified its control over all of Italy. Rome was not the only land empire in the Mediterranean, however, as the well-established city-state of Carthage was in control of widespread territories throughout North Africa and Iberia, and held commanding naval and economic power, though they relied on mercenaries to supplement their armies. Founded by Phoenician settlers around 813 BC, Carthage had long been able to keep Rome under near subjugation, at least in terms of trade, imposing favorable economic treaties and maintaining tariffs on Roman goods, even preventing Rome from trading with all the western Mediterranean world for centuries. Conflict at this point was inevitable, and in 264 BCE, a local Sicilian disagreement between the king of Syracuse and rogue mercenary forces that were unemployed called Mamertines provided the perfect excuse to fight. Initially, the Mamertines asked for Carthaginian help, which then was deemed too slow, leading them to ask Rome for support, which made Carthage understandably upset. After much side-switching, Rome ended up supporting the Mamertines and Carthage, the local king, which basically degraded into Roman and Carthaginian fleets fighting in several locations. Carthage dominated these early naval battles, but soon found their naval superiority surpassed by a Roman fleet who produced 100 ships in just 2 months. Polybius, a Roman historian, called it the longest and most severely contested war in history. The First Punic War ended with Carthage suing for peace in 241 BC, and in 23 years peace fell over the Mediterranean area. Yeah, no. During the time, Rome found itself embroiled in 3 wars with local neighbors, which they won, and Carthage expanded greatly into Iberia, which of course was not overly peaceful. The Second Punic War broke out with the famous Hannibal Barca's assault on a Roman-protected town in Spain. This war is most well remembered, with all of Hannibal and his elephants majestically crossing the Alps and the killing of lots of Romans, which is actually fairly accurate, since elephants are awesome, and in 3 battles, Hannibal killed over 100,000 Roman soldiers. Unfortunately, the lack of Carthaginian support for Hannibal left Rome free to launch a successful counter-invasion that ended the war in 201. Harsh economic penalties were imposed on Carthage, which they largely paid off thanks to effective rule by Hannibal himself. Rome wasn't so happy to see Carthage recovering, however, and several Romans, such as Cato the Elder, called for the enormous city to be destroyed. Cato ended every speech he made throughout Rome, no matter the topic, with the phrase Carthago delenda est, or Carthage must be destroyed. The only cause for the Third Punic War was the removal of Carthage from any possibility of power. From 149 to 146, Rome lay siege to Carthage and killed tens of thousands, after which they sold everyone who remained into slavery. The main results of the Punic Wars lay in a dominant Rome with a strong army and navy and near undisputed control of the western Mediterranean. Unforeseen consequences abounded, though, including the eventual dissolution of the Roman Republic and the near extinction of independent lower-class farmers, described best by Livy, another Roman historian. Rome has grown since its humble beginnings that is now overwhelmed by its own greatness.
Created using Powtoon.